I am here to remind you a second time that High School Musical is in fact political. We are doing round 2. We are now to High School Musical 2. Who remembers where they were when High School Musical 2 aired? Guys, I was at a Jonas Brothers concert when this aired. And I was watching my first watch of High School Musical 2 on a VHS. Yes, a VHS. Some of y'all know nothing about that, and that scares me. And there was a National Weather Service warning. So I did not hear Gotta Go My Own Way. I saw it, but I did not hear it. While Gabriella was singing What About Us, I was hearing the National Weather Service. So I did have to wait to another airing to finally hear the bits that I missed from the storm warning. Hey, and honestly, kind of mad about that day because I was supposed to meet the Jonas Brothers, but I was a little dumb 12-year-old and didn't understand how anything worked. So when my cousin went up to the merch table, she got us each a CD, and he said, this comes with a meet and greet wristband, but gave us no information about the meet and greet. And being 10 and 12, do you think we asked? We just go, oh, it's gonna happen at the show, I'm sure. Like we know fucking anything. This was 2007? 2008? 2008? 2007? 2007! Holy shit. Man, how time flies. Like I was in middle school. What the fuck? Anyways, back to what we were fucking talking about. High School Musical 2. Today's lessons are going to be proximity to power does not always guarantee you a seat at the top. And also, is it worth it to get everything you dreamed of if the result is losing yourself? So as I'm sure we all remember, this movie specifically takes place at Sharpay's family's country club, Lava Springs. But first we open with What Time Is It? It lays down everybody's plans for the summer, and specifically we get this interesting scene between Sharpay and Gabriella. I understand that you moved every time for the past 5 years, and I'd hate to think that today is goodbye. No worries, my mom promised I'm here until graduation next year. Bless mom's little heart. Sharpay, we got off to a rough start, but you really came through. I mean, you helped me with the winter musical. Sharpay really wants to get rid of Gabriella so bad. Like, so bad. Like, girl, relax. Do I think in a world where Gabriella Montez never went to East High, that Sharpay and Troy would be together? I don't believe that. And I feel like this movie is proof later on when he starts making faces because Sharpay is giving him all these privileges. And he likes the privileges, but he's always looking annoyed at Sharpay. Even if he can't stick up for himself to Sharpay, he is kind of like, ugh. So I actually don't believe that. I wonder what everyone else thinks though. So then we flash to Troy is at home with the boys and he gets an interesting call. The boys think it's Gabriella, but it's actually a job opportunity. And Troy is actually getting offered a summer job. But how did you get my name? Well, we've always had a student summer work program here at Lava Springs. Now remember what I just said. Lava Springs, Sharpay's family's country club. How could they possibly have known about Troy? Troy then follows with, here's the thing, I know the most amazing girl. I mean, student, straight A's. This says quintuple straight A's, is that what he says? So one of the things we see here in the scene is that Troy is using his privilege that he doesn't know is being given to him by Sharpay to get his friends and Gabriella a job. Now, Sharpay does not know this yet. We start off at Lava Springs seeing Sharpay arrive and she is talking to the manager, Fulton, and he is updating Sharpay on the Star Dazzle Award, and we learn that Sharpay has won this every year, and you win the Star Dazzle Award by winning the talent show. And for the record, the talent show has always included employees, but obviously Sharpay always bops to the top. Sharpay goes to lounge by the pool. What's the theme of the summer talent show, Sharpay? Redemption. It was a very trying year, ladies. My drama department was invaded by outsiders, singers coming from the chemistry lab and the locker room. Shocking, really. Now, relax. Relax, queen. But you know what? If Sharpay can no longer be the center of attention at East High, at the very least at her own country club, I think she feels. This is where we go right into Fabulous. An iconic number, by the way. A very important line at the end of Fabulous is the scene where she goes, absolutely, when she sees Troy walking in. And she sees the Wildcats walking behind him, and she sees Gabriella as a lifeguard. And she goes, not. So it's important to note here that Sharpay was under the impression just Troy was going to be hired. Like, she was going to be able to get the summer that she's always wanted. She's going to be able to pull Troy away from Gabriella to get closer to her. As we know, and we consistently learn this, Sharpay, likes Troy, but she doesn't genuinely like Troy in comparison to Gabriella. Troy's more of like a trophy man to him, right? Because he's the center of attention of the school. He's the basketball captain, and she is really popular. You know what's really interesting? I read this honestly hit piece against Troy and Gabriella when they were trying to say they were the villain and not Sharpay, which is insane, by the way. Like, that is like, we need to like really reflect within ourselves if we think that, because that's an insane take. And one of the reasons that they had said was that the Wildcats never support Sharpay. And you know what's really interesting about that to me is, one, obviously they weren't going to respect the theater. They didn't give a fuck about musical theater. They were basketball guys. But also, it would be kind of implied that Sharpay is popular, although we don't necessarily see all that in the first High School Musical, right? Because she's the head of the drama department. And I guess that could be a toss-up, a popularity, I'm thinking, because obviously not everyone cares about musical theater, right? But specifically in High School Musical 2, everyone's asking for Sharpay's autograph. So I'm going, okay, so people in school do care about her. Why does she need the Wildcats' support? If it was like a whole thing, like everyone in the school stopped giving a fuck about Sharpay, but it's just the team who hasn't been giving her attention anyways, what are we talking about? Anyways, that was just a side note that like really drove me crazy, because in the beginning of What Time Is It? And obviously they're leaving for the summer, oh, we're signing everybody's yearbook. And mind you, Sharpay didn't do anything to earn that in the first movie, right? Like, that would have had to be already pre-established, because Troy and Gabriella were the ones who were doing the theater. Do you see what I'm saying? Anyways, let's get back to what we were doing. Now, something really incredible Troy did here was use his privilege to uplift others. Granted, he didn't really think about the fact that that is what was happening, but that is what he was doing. We establish a lot about Troy in the beginning of the movie and the kind of guy he is, the kind of summer he wants to have, spending time with his friends, spending time with his girl, and he appreciates the time he gets to spend with his friends. I think that's the whole point. Like, eventually high school is going to be over. We got to really take in our last summer together. But using his privilege to uplift others. This is important because later on in the movie, as Troy is getting these privileges from Sharpay that may up his basketball career, right? Or college career at least, he starts forgetting about the second part. And we will get to that shortly, but I want everybody to keep this in mind as we're going along. Sharpay's upset. She storms over to Fulton, the manager. I told you to hire Troy Bolton, not the entire East High student body. You told me to hire Troy Bolton, whatever it takes. Sharpay then learns Fulton ran this decision by the board of Lava Springs. And who's on the board of Lava Springs? Obviously, her parents. She goes to confront her mother, and her mother says, "These are your school chums, not the fuddy-duddy Lava Springs staff. These are not my chums. They'll steal my talent show. And what fresh talent you'll have for your summer show. Mother, did you hear what I just said?" I actually think this is an incredible dialogue to show what Sharpay thinks of other people. And I think it's important to keep in mind, when I told you earlier that Sharpay's family owns this country club, right? You have to remember, you own a country club? Oh, you rich. Oh, you rich. And what's a common thing that we can think about rich people? What they think about people who are below them. It's not that it needs to get that serious about class in High School Musical, but it's to pull out these points in the way that Sharpay treats people. They shouldn't even have an opportunity to have what I have. We lived the same plot over again for Sharpay as we did in the first movie, where she tried to make sure that Troy and Gabriella, under no circumstances, could make their callback. Not that they even have a chance to audition. Same thing will go in this movie later on. And this kind of attitude that no one can have what I have, and I deserve it over other people, is an interesting subtext here in the grand picture of the world. This is why I say High School Musical is political. It does it in such an interesting way that's not saying it for what it is in our context that we live it. These problems can exist within any type of circle, where we have rich people, poor people. People at the top of the hierarchy, people at the bottom. Why does no one want any equality? And not even money equality. Just opportunity equality. Why should one person be granted more than the other? Sharpay does not get her way. She goes to Fulton and she says, if you can't fire them, make them want to quit. Okay, guys, this is the start. This is the start of her behavior that we're seeing here. And to bring it back to that Troy and Gabriella hit article, I saw another article, which, for my mental health, I have to not look at these, honestly, because it angers me truly. Someone was trying to be in defense of Sharpay and said, well, she gave them all jobs at her country club. And it's like, well, Troy got them jobs, right? And Sharpay said, make them want to quit, because I don't fucking want them here. So there's a lot of revisionist history going on. Hey, I think I've seen that film before, and I think I'm seeing it right now in American history. But that's why we look back at these movies, to see the incredible lessons that we were low-key being taught on Disney Channel. Eventually, we get to one of the most iconic songs that happens to have the clanging of pots and pans in the background, and that is Work This Out. And I just want to perform Troy's part and work this out for everyone, because honestly, I think it is a great speech, to be quite honest. We're a champion team, a well-oiled machine, and we faced tougher problems than this. I know it's a grind, but I'm sure we can find a way to have fun while we get the job done. Don't you just want to applause after that? We now flash to Gabriella and Troy having a picnic on the golf course. Gabriella says, are you sure it's okay for us to be out here? Now I want us to note this, because this is something that is held against Gabriella and never Troy. If you listen to the first episode, I say, she's not a problem, she's just a girl. Okay? Troy says this when his dad says, hey, Gabriella is making you do all this stuff. Right? And she's not a problem, she's just a girl, right? Because we have to put the responsibility on the person who actually is responsible for it. So Gabriella gets a lot of things thrown back in her face that were never actually her fault, that were Troy's ideas. And also it was never that serious, but of course when they're trying to push you into all these things, right? If they want to make you the problem, they're going to nitpick you to the fucking bone. Okay, and that happens to Gabriella. Sharpay is, of course, watching in a tower with binoculars, and she gets the sprinklers turned on, but they, of course, know how to have a good time. They know how to find the joy in life, and they dance in the water. Then, of course, they get in trouble, they get the first strike, and this just needs to be noted because it will be thrown in Gabriella's face later on. Now, an interesting dialogue between Troy and Gabriella that made me laugh. If you recall in the first episode, I talked about how Troy's house is so fucking big, and he had a basketball court. And in High School Musical 3, you see Troy's house is even bigger than you even fucking thought, because he's having a big rager in the fucking backyard. But my point in all of this is to remind you that why is Troy living on such a big property, but his family can't afford to send him to college? My mom said summer jobs look good on college applications. All part of the frightening concept called our future. Are you worried? Hey, college costs a fortune. My parents are saving pennies, unlike the people at this place. He may have money to live at that big house, but he's still living in a different tax bracket than Sharpay, for sure. But I'm just like I said, I know how big your house is doesn't mean that you have money to do other things, because you probably put all that money into the house. But I still go like, you ain't got nothing? You got $0? You're pinching your house poor? In that big-ass house? I mean, I don't know. I guess that's a good house to be house poor in if you're gonna, because it's fucking huge. I don't know, guys. That always trips me up when I think about that. Maybe if you guys downsized, I do feel like maybe you could sort of contribute, but that's okay. Do what you want, I guess. I'm only as good as whatever happens next season. I always liked the idea of being in charge of my future, until it actually started happening. So let's just think about right now. Because I've never been in one place for an entire summer. And this means a lot to me, especially being here with such an outstanding peanut butter and jelly sandwich maker like me. I want to remember this summer, Troy. Wow, how cute. But Troy doesn't like being in charge of his future. It's a lot to think about. We're going to note that. More things to come. We then flash to Kelsey, who had just written a new arrangement and she wants everybody to participate in the talent show. Troy says, "My singing career began and ended with the East High Winter Musical. I'm just here to make a check and sneak into the pool after work." I thought this was interesting because obviously High School Musical 3 is about Troy trying to figure out, like, well, what do I want to do? Like, am I limiting myself by thinking only basketball? Maybe I do want to sing. So it's interesting that we get this hesitation from Troy where he's just like, I think that was it. I think that's where the musical stuff ended for me. Nevertheless, Sharpay and Ryan. No, it's an amazing song, but Kelsey didn't write it for us. The mother says, "Ryan, it might be wonderful if Troy participates in our talent show. What? If he sings with Gabriella, then our whole show is going to be the Troy and Gabriella show. I'm not certain Gabriella is ideally suited to help Troy realize his full potential at Lava Springs." Sharpay thinks, "I am better for Troy because I can offer him more. Monetarily. In many ways." Is Sharpay being sugar mama? And granted, she's not sending him $500 every week, but she is using her richness to help Troy, and not in the way that Troy was doing it earlier in the movie by getting his friends jobs, okay? That's not the same thing that's happening here with Sharpay and Troy, but it's interesting that Sharpay, she's not offering anything genuine, but she is like, I can offer him opportunities that he could never turn down. Think about it, guys. Think about it. So Sharpay pulls Troy and Chad to be caddy boys. They are going to be going as a family, the Evans family, off to the golf course, and Sharpay specifically wants Troy to meet Daddy. Why does Sharpay call her dad Daddy? Like, relax. Like, you're not 12. I'm sorry. It needs to stop, Queen. It needs to stop. At some point, they let Troy golf as well, which is interesting because this is the first time the power dynamics start to shift, where Chad begins being still the caddy boy, but Troy is starting to be given special treatment. He's also participating in the game, even though he was only supposed to be there as a caddy boy. But obviously, that wasn't, Sharpay's full intentions. I think it really puts a timestamp on when this movie existed because of the Tiger Woods references. When Troy shoots at golf, you putt? You putt at golf. I was trying to think, what are the terms of golf? When Troy performs a great putt at golf, the mom says, well, Tiger Woods would have been so proud to make that putt. That's killing me. Who remembers when everyone was like, Tiger Woods has committed a serious crime when he was cheating on his wife? That was crazy. That was a crazy time to be alive. Sharpay says, what a shame that Troy is only bussing dishes all summer. Given that, he's a potential star for your alma mater, Daddy. I hate that she calls him Daddy. Like, that's so weird to me. I'm sorry, girl. You're too old for that. You're like 17. Give it up, Queen. So Sharpay is planting the seeds. The dad says, I've seen Troy play basketball. I think U of A Redhawks will be very interested in him. That's inspired, Daddy. Troy is very concerned about college. Isn't this so weird? Like, I know that's the whole point in the movie, but it's like, girl, he doesn't like you. Take a fucking hint. Like, I don't think you even getting him a college career would make Troy want to go out with you. Like, I promise you there are other things to worry about at night. We cut to the kitchen, and right before Troy gets to work, the manager pulls him and says he's going to be having dinner with the Evans family. What do you say we get some food and we can talk about your future? My future? Yeah, sit down. Have a seat. Daddy's on the board of directors at the University of Albuquerque. So, Troy, I saw your championship game. I mean, wow. That last second shot at the buzzer, outstanding. Actually, my teammates here stole the ball. Otherwise, I wouldn't have had a chance. Oh, you're much too modest, Troy. I want everyone to note this dialogue that Troy just said specifically. They're giving Troy all this credit for being a great player, and he says, actually, my teammates here stole the ball. Otherwise, I wouldn't have had a chance, right? I have to recognize the people who helped me get to where I am. I can't be the person who makes the winning shot if I don't have a team behind me, right? Who's laying up the play for me. Troy is always uplifting other people because other people uplift Troy. That's the kind of guy Troy is. We're laying the groundwork of the kind of guy Troy is because we are going to see him take such a pivot. You were voted MVP for the entire season. You know we've got a heck of a basketball program over at U of A and an excellent scholarship program as well. Scholarship? Yeah. Between the two of us, we've pull a little weight over here at school. Okay, so we're starting to see, hey, maybe we can get you in, bud. Have you heard him sing? Oh, triple threat. Oh, how wonderful. Troy can participate in the talent show. Oh, come on, Troy. Give them a sample. Obviously, Troy does not sing. Kelsey, no. Actually, my voice is feeling a little bit hoarse tonight. You know, all the talking. But thank you very much for the food and the golf and everything. But will you sing some other time, though, with me? Promise, Sharpay says, and Troy promises. Troy definitely felt very awkward during this dinner, right? But he also was being clued into like, hey, we have some opportunities for you. Now, it's important to note that Troy has now showed up late to his dinner date with Gabriella. Taylor says to Gabriella, just because Troy's a nice guy doesn't mean he's immune to boy disease. Boy disease? Yeah, forgetting things he shouldn't forget. Oh, so now you're the boy expert? My older sister has 10 rules about boy behavior, and 9 of them involve boys forgetting things. They should never forget, like dinner dates. This dialogue is so fucking funny to me because I hate to say it, but it's true. Boys don't be listening, and let me tell you, they be forgetting, and it is kind of annoying. But we can't even, that's a whole other topic for another day. But I think this is very interesting because it's also going to lay the groundwork for the promises that Troy is about to break. And I actually think it's really interesting just to note a lot of the times that Troy is going to be pulled by Sharpay for certain things, it's going to be not structured. She doesn't give him a heads up. It's like, hey, you were going to do this? Actually, I'm stealing you to do this. Which is not a reason, not an excuse, to be late to your date. But we'll get to that later. So Troy goes over to Gabriella. He says, I'm going to change. I'll be right back. Because they're going to jump in the pool eventually. Of course, Troy gets pulled again. And we get the number. Huma huma nuka nuka apawa. A long time ago, in a land far away, lived a pineapple princess Tiki. She was sweet as a peach in a pineapple way, but so sad that she hardly speaky. So, if you listen well, you might hear her secret wish. Okay, I'm done. I just had to get that out there. You know what I mean? Sometimes you just need to be singing Huma Huma Nuka Nuka Apawa. That's quite, I feel like learning that song, Huma Huma Nuka Nuka Apawa, Malahiki Malahini Hu? I think that's how you say it. I could be wrong. I'm not going to fact check right now. And I wanna waka 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 Nikki poo poo poo. What are we saying? I gotta look. Never mind. You know when you like start having a thought process and you go, it's not that serious. We can move on. So Sharpay performs this big number. And she basically is holding Troy hostage. He's clearly uncomfortable. And this is where Sharpay ultimately is like, no, I want us to perform it in the talent show. There's a very interesting part of the conversation that I want to highlight. And Troy says, look, you ever tried just singing? I mean, without all the lights and sets and like backup people, well, it'd be much harder to get an applause that way. I'm not talking about applause. I'm talking about hanging out with friends. You know, doing nothing and singing for fun. We're laying the groundwork of who Troy is, right? What his intentions were, what he cares about, so that we know when he deviates, we can see it. Sharpay says we could do this number at our talent show, and Troy says, look, I'm here to work. Sharpay, I already told you being on stage really is your thing. It's not mine. It could be our thing, Sharpay says. Time out on that one, okay? I've got an our thing. It's with Gabriella, and I'm very late for her, so I gotta go. Okay, Troy! Okay, Troy! I want everyone to note this, because this is the only fucking time he stands up to Sharpay until the end of the movie. I got an our thing, and it's with Gabriella. Exactly. Tell that girl off, Troy, okay? I've got an our thing. It's with Gabriella. You see what I'm saying? Because I don't want anyone to sit here and act like Troy was naive and didn't know what was going on. This is the whole fucking point of us prefacing this. We know that Troy can see what Sharpay's doing, right? That Sharpay likes him, that she's trying to pull him away. That's what he said. I've got an our thing, and it's with Gabriella, and I'm very late for her, so I got to go. So let's not sit here and act like Troy is naive and doesn't know that Sharpay likes him. And that's the point of as Sharpay begins to offer him more opportunities, and he keeps breaking his promises with his friends and Gabriella, Troy doesn't stand up any further to Sharpay because he is going, I could take these opportunities if I only tolerate Sharpay. But realistically, he should be telling Sharpay, like, hey, nothing is going to happen between us, right? But this is the only time we get that. And this is interesting because why did I saved this dialogue, but I did not even clock this when I was saving this dialogue. See, that's the beauty of going over things. So Troy makes his escape and he is available to meet up with Gabriella. Finally, of course, they go swimming in the pool after hours. And once again, that was Troy's idea. And what happens? Strike 2. Strike 3, you're out. Look, Mr. Fulton, this was my idea. She had nothing to do with it. I generously overlooked your previous break violation. But then came the golf course jaunt. And now this. 2 strikes. Don't get a third. Out of the pool. Note that. Another thing that's gonna be thrown in Gabriella's face, Sharpay, is fucking rude. And I remind everyone once again, why are we not holding the men responsible? I think High School Musical 2 is the only movie that has connections to patriarchy, white supremacy, and capitalism. And if I am wrong on that, please let me know. But I feel like every other movie only has about 2. But I haven't done my analysis on High School Musical 3, so I can't say that. But at least the first one was more patriarchy, white supremacy. This one, we're having ties to all fucking 3, right? Because we're also not putting the blame where it belongs. Why is Gabriella getting a strike for something Troy enticed her to do, right? In the first movie, Chad wanted to say, this elevated IQ temptress is making you do things. And that's not the same with Gabriella, because obviously she's gonna go swim in the pool with her boyfriend, her boyfriends. You know what I'm saying? Anyways. So the next scene we get, Troy and his dad are working on the car and he is recounting his day for his dad. They were talking about scholarships, while Jason and Chad were like, serving me and getting paid for it. It's called a job. You were invited. Nothing wrong with that. Yeah, I don't know. It felt weird. This is the first time Troy is really aware of the power dynamics being shifted, and he doesn't feel right about it. I love that you've got the team working together, but you're not going to be a wildcat forever. The team is now, and it's good, but everybody's got their own future. I want us to note this next chunk. I love that you've got the team working together, but you're not going to be a wildcat forever. What's that mean? I'm not sure I know what you mean. Well, when you graduate, lots of people are going to be chasing the same opportunities. There's nothing wrong with keeping your eye on the prize. In fact, if you don't, you get left behind. Yeah, I know. I'm just saying. I didn't get my friends jobs at the club so they could sit and watch me eat in the dining room. You know, I'm just saying, never be ashamed of attention, as long as you've earned it. You know, a scholarship's special. That's why there's only a few to go around. This, guys, I didn't even clock this until I was going over making my notes for the podcast. So this whole dialogue here is so fucking incredible. I think this is our first connection to the white supremacy of it all. Because we have already been establishing, you know, the ways all of these things intersect, right? Patriarchy, white supremacy, capitalism. But this is a great summary of how this mindset starts. The fact that, I love that you've got the team working together, but you're not going to be a wildcat forever. As if you need to at some point leave people behind, which he says, there's nothing wrong with keeping your eye on the prize. In fact, if you don't, you get left behind. But does Troy leave people behind, or does he lift people up with him? And I want people to really fucking note this scene, because it really encapsulates everything that we need to know about why Troy's story is so important in this movie. Do you need to leave people behind in order to succeed? Or is that just a lie that the patriarchy, white supremacy, specifically, obviously they all intersect, and capitalism tell you? Do you need to leave people behind to get ahead, to get the prize? I want everyone to think about this, because even relating back to American history, this idea that there are rich white people, Sharpay, who would rather succeed alone and make sure that you're left in the dust. They don't want to succeed with you. They don't want you to have the same opportunity as them, like Sharpay. She said, you can't be at the same level as me. I'm better than you. I don't even want you to audition for the musical. You don't get that privilege. Instead of uplifting each other, instead of we're all in this together, or at the very least, we have an equal playing field. Troy is not someone who leaves people behind. He gives credit where credit is due. He recognizes his privilege before we get to the last half of this movie, okay? And he not only is the kind of guy who just does it because that's just who he is, but he cares. You see this discomfort Troy is feeling, that he's recognizing the power differences that are shifting. He's no longer part of the team in the way that, well, he's starting to get privileges, right? So it's starting to shift and he can see it and it makes him uncomfortable. But he doesn't stick to his values, which we see him start to lose throughout the movie. In this last part, I'm just saying, never be ashamed of attention as long as you've earned it. And I have to ask, did Troy earn it? And not just did Troy earn it, above anyone else? What makes Troy Bolton greater than anyone else? The reality is, there isn't anything that makes Troy better than anyone else. He says it himself. He couldn't have done it without the team. It's not just him alone on the basketball court, is it? No. And I actually hate when Bolton says, as long as you've earned it. He didn't earn it. Why is Troy getting these privileges from Sharpay? Because Sharpay likes him and wants to steal him from Gabriella. Because Sharpay can't offer anything genuine because she doesn't genuinely care about Troy. So she thinks, I can offer him opportunity. Think about it. And also, I just want to say, this is also very interesting. This idea that we're telling white men that, well, you've earned it. Did he though? Did he? It's not to say disregard everyone's hard work. But like I said, he's not getting these privileges in an authentic way. Not because, scouts saw him play. He's only been served up these opportunities because Sharpay likes him. If Sharpay didn't like him, would he be getting these opportunities? The answer to that is no. So did Troy earn this? No. He's existing as Troy Bolton, and he's the captain of the basketball team, and Sharpay happens to like him. And these are the only connections that we have as to why Troy is getting that attention. That's it. This dialogue is so fucking incredible. I think this is my favorite scene in the movie for making the connections of patriarchy, white supremacy, capitalism. In fact, if you don't, you get left behind. You don't need to leave people behind to get ahead, and that's what you need to fucking understand. And Troy will soon learn that lesson. But of course, we're not there yet. And at what point does doing things that are right for you slide into a bad kind of selfish? Because people fail to hold the nuance for the, well, I just have to do this for me conversation. That does not mean be selfish and just go nanny foo-foo to everyone who doesn't have the same opportunity to you. That's not what that means. It's one thing to do something for yourself. It's another thing to be terribly selfish and do it the wrong way. But we're gonna circle back to all these connections. Don't you worry. High School Musical 2 is a phenomenal movie, and we circle back to all of these points. So we have established the kind of guy Troy Bolton is. He likes to uplift his friends. He likes an equal playing field. He wants to spend time with his friends and his girlfriend. At first, Sharpay giving him all these privileges is making him uncomfortable because Troy is beginning to notice the power differences between him and his friends. So that's how we start off with Troy in the beginning of the movie. And this is where it starts shifting. So Troy shows up late to work and the manager says he's being promoted. Troy obviously is like, how the fuck am I being promoted? There's an opening as an assistant to the golf pros. Salaried job, no clocking in. $500 a week plus tips. Troy was confused. He's like, how the fuck am I being promoted? Well, we know why. Sharpay, the Evans family. Troy says, that's off the hook. I think that sounds very manageable. No, of course you're hearing more money. Sure, I'll take more money. Hey, if my parents are pinching pennies for me to go to school, I will take more money. Wait, so you want me to teach golf to kids? Oh, the joy. But sir, I don't think I'm qualified. Boom, 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 boom. Patriarchy, white supremacy, right there for you. But sir, I don't think I'm qualified. Even Troy fucking knows this. Now granted, he still takes it, and that's just the problem of it all, guys. This is where I say, this is really where it takes downhill for Troy. An unqualified man getting a promotion for no reason. I think I've seen this film before. Is anyone shocked that an unqualified man is getting a job that he's not qualified to do? Is anyone shocked by that? So Troy gets to the golf course and all the kids are lined up in their little kind of cubbies in a sense to start to learn how to putt. And guys, who's there? Who do we see there? Oh, is that Sharpay? What a coinky-dink. Sharpay's there? No way. Of course she fucking is. Sharpay wants Troy to teach her how to golf. Who woulda thunk? But before we get to that, I want to just fill you in on some other things that Troy is getting in this promotion. In addition, the board is extending you membership privileges. You have complete use of club facilities, but do so prudently, meaning fellow Wildcats, not. You'll find an appropriate choice of clothing here. Do not mix checks with plaids, blue with browns, and avoid wearing white socks at all costs. He's got a fucking locker of new clothes. Leave your shoes outside the locker. They will be buffed and polished each evening. And Troy's like, yeah, oh man, this is sick. Save it for the first tee. And to get there, this might come in handy. That's the key to your golf cart. Number 14, the same number that's on your basketball uniform, so I'm told. How did this happen? It would seem that the Evans family thinks you have untapped potential. We just gotta cut in here to say, once again, is Troy actually earning this attention? He's really no different than anyone else. I want everyone to remember that. There is nothing that sets him apart from literally anyone else, realistically, other than he holds the title of captain. But we actually do get to why he was voted captain later on. Young man, the future is full of uncharted waters, and this family has real clout. I like that he says clout, so I suggest you take the ride. Once again, Troy's like, this is kind of sick. Wait, I kind of like this. I'm getting a taste of the good life. But this is where we see Troy starting to lose himself. Because what is the cost of accepting these privileges from someone who is ill-intentioned? Nothing sets Troy apart from anyone else. It's just who Troy is. It's not this wonderful story of a rich family and a rich girl taking this poor boy under his wing. No. This is not a beautiful story, okay? This is not Annie and Daddy Warbucks. This is white privilege to a fucking T. And that was not intended to be a golf pun. But here we are. So the thing about Sharpay I want to know when she's on this golf course with Troy. Do you think Sharpay doesn't know how to golf? She's rich. Her dad owns a country club. Do you really think, are you that naive to think that Sharpay doesn't know what she's doing? It's just that, oh, I don't know what to do, Troy. Maybe put your arms around me and help me swing this golf club. I don't know what I'm doing. Oh my God, I'm just a girl. I don't know what I'm doing. Sports? I've never heard of it. Girl, you do get a scene where she puts the ball. She doesn't know how to play golf. She's just trying to get close to Troy. Sharpay is bringing up the talent show once again. Look, Sharpay, I already told you, singing really isn't my thing. And here's the best news. All the Red Hawk boosters will be there. Really? Of course. We'll lock up your scholarship with a high C right from center stage. We're all in this together, right? Your parents have been really, really nice, Sharpay, but singing with you isn't part of my job. Boom! I know, just something you promised to do. Remember? Don't even, I can't. Sharpay. I cannot with this girl. I personally cannot. So Gabriella and Taylor obviously observe these things during their workday, and Taylor says, that girl's got more moves than an octopus in a wrestling match. Nah, he knows how to swim. Yeah, Troy can handle himself. So I think it's important to note that Troy, once again, is his own person. Wake up, sister. She's basically offering him a college education just to sing with her in the talent show. Troy would never do that. And I just want to point out, Gabriella goes, Troy can hold his own. We don't need to worry about anything, okay? Gabriella's pretty secure. And we gotta give her credit for that. She is. I really gotta give Gab credit. Because I think a lot of people would be jealous of that, right? Seeing all Sharpay is doing. Like, it's fucking obvious. And Troy knows it too. And that's the fuck of it all. He stood up to her at first, after Huma Huma Nukunuka Apuwa, but after that, his efforts to stand up to Sharpay are dwindling. But like I said, really appreciate Gabriella's like, listen, I'm not even worried about that because I trust Troy. I do want to note, though, I think this is a great point to stop and remind everyone that obviously I know dissecting these movies can start to feel a little silly when we talk about the fact that, like, it's a movie. Things have to happen. If we were all secure and we handled things the right way, there wouldn't be a movie to watch. And that probably would be fairly boring. I want everyone to remember that Troy does have his own agency. So at any point, he could stop and say, hey, Sharpay, I appreciate what you've done for me, but it seems that you're under the impression that there's going to be something between us, but there's not, so I don't feel comfortable taking it knowing that that's your intention. right? Or at the very least being like, I don't feel comfortable knowing how you feel about me, and I'm not going to reciprocate that. So if you're uncomfortable with that, I will not take advantage of any of the further opportunities you give me. Now, was that going to happen? I ask everyone. No. Why would that happen? It's a movie. But I'm just saying. This is the lesson that we can take out of it as people. We have our own agency. So that's the whole fucking point. Troy is being given these privileges. He damn well knows that Sharpay is doing it because Sharpay wants him. And he's not going to reciprocate that. He does find Sharpay annoying. Like, we see this on his face. He's tolerating her at best. But he's still getting these privileges, so he continues to do it. But you also have the agency to be like, yeah, like, we have to be honest about this. I also think it's bare minimum for Troy to set those boundaries with Sharpay. And granted, he tried. The first time was a big one. I like that one because he said, I already got our thing, and that's Gabriella. That was great. I love that one. The second try, out on the golf course with Sharpay wasn't as hard. We see this dwindling. So the following scene is really when we get the worst of the worst. This is when all our worst fears are going to be compared. Is Troy really starting to change? Like, we've seen the start of this. We could see it going that way. But that's not the kind of guy Troy is. Would he really do that? Oh, he would. Troy gets called to have lunch with the Redhawks, and Chad is serving him. And Troy says, hey, I almost forgot. And poor Chad, he literally looks like he's about to be introduced to the Redhawk team. He looks happy, like, oh, of course. Why did I ever doubt Troy? Like, of course he's going to introduce me. And guess what Troy says? Actually, I ordered Swiss on my burger, and sends back his burger. The reason that Chad thought that Troy was going to introduce him is because that's the kind of guy Troy is, right? There's a lot of arguments about High School Musical 2. And we're going to get, when towards the end of the story wrapping up, we're going to get to a full dissection of it. But I want to talk about it here. There's this kind of idea that Gabriella and the friends were wrong to be mad at Troy because Troy was just trying to finally do something for his career. I need y'all to get out of that fucking mindset. Because the point is, it's not the right way. But like I said, we're going to circle back to that when we get to that point. At the very least, the reason that Chad expected to be introduced to the Redhawks is because that's the kind of guy that Troy was, right? Like, hey, this is my buddy. We've known each other for a long time. We've been playing together, right? Because he also knows, and in the third movie, Chad does go to U of A, okay? So Chad will be the actual one playing for the Redhawks. Introducing Chad to the Redhawks doesn't do anything negative for Troy. It's not like they're all going to be like, oh, we'll give you the scholarship instead. The Redhawks don't have any control over that. They're just a basketball team that they know because they live in fucking Albuquerque. And at the very least, Troy, who we established at the beginning of the movie, likes to uplift his friends, right? The least he could do is be like, hey, let me introduce you to my buddy. We've been playing basketball. We've seen your games. And he didn't even fucking do that. It's actually, I don't think that it's crazy that Chad expected that from his friends. You couldn't convince me. We need to get out of this fucking mindset. This is why I like to use High School Musical to deconstruct, because it's a phenomenal example of the mindset that some of y'all need to get your head in the fucking game. Okay? This is getting ridiculous. It's the one big thing that I hear when we talk about High School Musical 2. Like, Troy wasn't in the wrong. He was just trying to up his career. You missed the point. We need to rewatch the movie. You missed the point. I'm going to tie you to a chair and you're going to rewatch the movie until you get the fucking point. Because I'm mad that people are not getting it. I truly am. So let's flash back to the dad dialogue. There's nothing wrong with keeping your eye on the prize. This idea that I have to ignore everything we've established about who I am, right? And also, my good friends that I care about and want to uplift with me, we're all in this together, right? And I have to tune everyone else out, keep my eye on the prize, and everyone else gets left behind. That's not how you do it. I also see the argument saying, well, it's not like they were going to give anyone else a scholarship. That wasn't the fucking point. I get so mad when I see bad High School Musical takes. It really drives me crazy. Because it's like, There are some ones that are like, okay, we can just have a differing opinion on, but when it comes to the Troy Bolton storyline, I can't agree to disagree on the Troy Bolton storyline of High School Musical 2, because some people are still in this white supremacy mindset. And I know that's a lot. Everybody put your armor down, honey. I am not here to fight. I'm here to challenge the way you have once thought about things. And the reason why I call it the white supremacist mindset is because that scene, like I talked about with Troy's dad, this idea that I can keep my eye on the prize. If you don't, you get left behind. The fact that we even think that we have to leave people behind. We can succeed and still uplift other people. That's possible. Technically, no one has to get left behind. And that's what I need everybody to remember. And when I say Troy's leaving people behind, that doesn't mean that I thought Troy Bolton was going to get everyone a scholarship who wanted to go to U of A. That wasn't the point. That wasn't the point. We're missing it. We're missing it. It drives me crazy. I just see that when I was looking up High School Musical 2 TikToks. And I tread lightly, like I said, because it's kind of hard for me when people have these big, terrible takes. Is that like, oh, no. I promise you, if you just do a little bit of deconstructing, you're going to understand what's happening. The power dynamics that are at play. So Chad goes back to the kitchen. There's a guy out there that looks just like Troy Bolton, but I have no idea who he really is. This is the biggest scene that we get that notes that Troy has changed. There's a reason that all of this has been established in the beginning, so that when something like this happens, although it almost seems so passive, if you're not paying attention, it means so much. It holds so much weight, and it's so important to the story specifically. So Sharpay goes to see Kelsey, and she wants You Are the Music in Me specifically. And Ryan says, oh hey, Kelsey's got some great new ideas to spice up the talent show. That new duet that Troy and Gabriella sang, I need it. Actually, it's not available. Repeat? Well, it's something I wrote for Troy and Gabriella, just in case they decide to. You're an employee, not a fairy godmother. Let's have it. Transpose it into my key. Troy and I will be doing the talent show. Oh, and brighten up the tempo. We need to keep people awake. Ryan says, what about our song? What about Huma Huma? Change in plans. What am I supposed to do with my Tiki Warrior outfit? Save it for Halloween, go to a luau, sell it online. I don't know. But in the meantime, keep an eye on those Wildcats. If they're planning on being in the show, which I doubt, once they hear about Troy and me, I don't want any surprises. Oh, and don't worry, I'll find a song for you somewhere in the show, or the next show. Really? Don't strain yourself, Slick. Entertainers are so temperamental. So this is an incredible scene. It's not a surprise that Sharpay is stealing the song. This is the first indicator that we get that Sharpay is for sure stealing Troy, right? And that Ryan is kicked out. And the lesson we learn here, Ryan's first lesson of the day, proximity to power does not always guarantee you a seat at the top. Ryan and Sharpay have always been a duo, but it's very clear that Sharpay has always seen herself at the top. And we call back to the first movie where Taylor said, if that girl could figure out a way to play both Romeo and Juliet, her own brother would be aced out of a job. This is a callback to that. Not that Sharpay's going to do the show on her own, but as soon as she wants something else, she's going to kick her brother out. And not only that, let's go back to what she fucking said. When Ryan's like, first of all, he just got kicked out. Second of all, what am I supposed to do with my Tiki Warrior outfit? Save it for Halloween, go to a luau, sell it in line. I don't know. She's kicking him to the curb, telling him she doesn't give a fuck what he does at this point, but also wants him to keep an eye on the Wildcats. You're being rude to your own brother, and then you still go, but you're my brother, so you're going to keep an eye on the Wildcats, right? But the thing about Ryan is, this is his first turning point of being like, oh shit, my sister's loyalty to me is not as great as I thought it was. And they're twins, mind you, which I feel like also makes this even worse, the fact that they're twins. And I think it's also important to note that, as we're deconstructing, patriarchy, white supremacy, capitalism, there are little things that happen that start to poke holes in what we've been told the way things are. And this is Ryan's, I don't know if this is his first, but this certainly is a bigger tear, right? At the very least, where he's really going to start to learn and start making a change for the better for himself. That his protection that he thought he had, being Sharpay's twin, is actually not as strong as he thought it was. He viewed this a little differently than Sharpay, which at the end of the day, Sharpay's intentions are extremely selfish. To treat your own twin, you shared a womb together, girl, like this is crazy. So we flash to a scene between Troy and Gabriella, and Troy says, I'll be back in about an hour. I'll pick you up in my new truck. And we'll go to a movie. I promise. Promise is a really big word, Troy. Yeah, I know. And we've got the staff baseball game after work. Remember, you promised that you'd play? Right, baseball. I'll absolutely meet you there. You forgot, didn't you? No, I just got the date mixed up. And I'm sorry I couldn't make lunch today. It's been wild, you know? I can't believe how things are working out here. So I see. Italian golf shoes, new clothes, golf carts. That's crazy stuff. Hard to keep track of all of that, I bet. So what's your point? It just doesn't seem like new stuff. It seems like a new Troy. So we get the first mini confrontation that Gabriella is clocking. Like, listen, something has really changed. This just doesn't seem like you. And she is absolutely in the right to be calling him in for this. Because that's the fucking point. Gabriella, I would say, has the most right to call him in the way that she has, I know she's new, but she has bared witness to Troy Bolton starting to break down the status quo and the kind of guy that he is. And they genuinely care about each other, right? That we saw in the first movie. So of course she can call him in like this. Like, you're not acting the same way, right? This isn't like Troy is doing everything right. Troy is in the wrong right now. His friends come out. All right, let's see if Tiger Woods still has a jump shot. Once again, another Tiger Woods reference, which I think is funny. Just really tell of the time. Hey Bolton, come on. The Red Hawks show up in their van. Why don't you tell them to come over and mix it up? We'll show them some game. You know, I don't think that's how they roll. That's not how they roll? No, that's not what I meant. I just think it's a close practice. Sorry. Wow. Well, maybe you can get us a video? But yesterday, you said we were going to play 2-on-2 after work, before the baseball game. I know, man. I'm sorry. Come on, Zeke, that was so yesterday. You know, when we were all on a team. More broken promises, not just to Gabriella, but also to his friends. And like I want to say, Troy is a team player. There's nothing wrong with introducing his friends to the Red Hawks. Like, literally, I'm telling you guys, this would take a minute and a half at best. Troy, you don't have a minute and a half to be like, hey guys, I know we're going off to practice. I just want to introduce you to my team. These are my guys. See how easy that was? See how fucking easy that was? Once again, I remind everyone, these are the Red Hawks. They play for U of A, University of Albuquerque. They absolutely have probably been to their games before. And that's just fucking cool that they lived there. And they have seen them. And they would want to be like, hey, these are guys that were like, damn, maybe we could be on their team one day. If they're going to pursue basketball. And it's not that they're trying to snooker something out of Troy or the Red Hawks to get on the up and up. That's not the point. That's just like, hey, introduce your friends to a basketball team that you guys have talked about maybe playing on the team together. It's really not that hard, right? Like, oh, you're not cool enough to be with us, to sit with us. And this is what we're seeing from Troy. He may not be clocking it within himself, but that's the way he is acting. So the girls are driving off on a golf cart to go to the baseball game. They run into Ryan and they invite him to come along. Did Fulton send you out here to spy on us? Nah, my sister did. She thinks you guys are going to upstage her talent show. Oh, no worries. We were going to do the show, but then Troy bailed on us, so whatever. What do you mean, whatever? It's our summer, remember? I thought we decided doing the show would be fun. Well, I think so. Me too. Who are we kidding? I don't think so. We don't know how to put together a show. No, but he does. If we have a real director putting it together, it could be great. Have the employees ever won a Star Dazzle award? I know what you can do, Ryan. So why not do it for us? So I actually think it's really interesting how once Troy is stolen for the talent show, they don't really make a big stink about it. Obviously, they're annoyed that Troy has left, but not for like the reason that, oh, now we're not going to do the talent show, right? Just like because he's changing. I really love this scene because, remember, Ryan has just been pushed to the side by his sister. Simultaneously, his sister wants her to spy. And it's just like, okay, you don't even really have an allegiance to your twin brother. And you want me to spy for you? So these cracks are getting bigger. And especially, the Wildcats are embracing Ryan, right? Like, they recognize his talent, right? That he can direct. He knows what to do. And they know that he got the boot because Troy took his spot. So maybe we can work together. We're all in this together, anyone? And I think a point of breaking free of the status quo, when we talk about the aspect of the status quo, that is isolating yourself from others by thinking we all have our places. And not only that, they are the theater kids, so they exist in a different space than the Wildcats, but also that idea that the other groups are out to get you, which we did talk about in the first movie with Sharpay, right? Where Sharpay, before everyone was coming together to get Troy and Gabriella to their audition, Sharpay was like, I know they're up to something, and that something that they thought Chad and Taylor were up to was trying to push Troy and Gabriella away so they didn't do the audition. So there's a lot of like thinking people are against you, pitting people against each other, right, in the status quo, so that you don't talk to each other, realize that, oh, we're actually cool with each other, so that you work together towards a greater cause. This is the lesson we see with Ryan in High School Musical too, that he starts to break the status quo in that realizing, you know what, I've kind of been told my whole life or this high school career that we can't mingle with the Wildcats. Like, they don't know. They got something against us. But the reality is, they don't dislike Ryan. Like, obviously he has participated with Sharpay in trying to pull everyone apart, but they don't dislike Ryan. They actually value what he has to offer in the way that we think you're great. And, you know, we know that you got kicked out. We would love for you to do that with us. And he's being embraced by this group that he was told that was against him. You see the connections we're putting together here, guys? Because under the status quo, under patriarchy, white supremacy, capitalism, we have to make up these fights. We have to make up these problems that someone else is against you, or that they don't like you, that they shouldn't get these same opportunities, or that we can't work peacefully together. These are all things that are co-opted to try to make you not come together. And this is what is kind of starting to shatter for Ryan as he's realizing, oh, okay, the Wildcats are really not as bad as everyone was making them out to be. And that everyone being Sharpay specifically. So then we get one of the most iconic scenes in High School Musical 2, I Don't Dance. You know exactly what I'm fucking talking about, y'all. If you want to play ball, then grab a mitt. But I don't dance. And something incredible happens in this scene. I know there's a lot that could be said about it, but I'm talking about it in the context of what we're learning. But yes, a lot of tension between Chad and Ryan. I mean, it's undeniable, guys. We can't sit here and lie. We can't sit here and lie. If you want to edit, find it on TikTok. Proof is in the pudding. You know what I'm saying? Something amazing is going on here. Because obviously, keeping the status quo can be very isolating. Ryan, at the end of the day, was expendable to his sister. Now he's welcomed him to a new group that he was supposed to be against. And unlike his sister, they actually value Ryan. The amazing thing about the number of I Don't Dance is that Ryan is bridging the gap of our differences. That you're telling me that baseball and dancing can have something in common. This idea that we want to think we're so different, and we do each have our differences that we need to highlight because we each benefit from the individual things that we can offer from our different groups. But at the end of the day, we also have so many similarities. Just because we do different things doesn't mean we can't make the connection or use those terms to explain how this works. It's actually an incredible fucking moment because Ryan uses baseball to show that it's actually not too different from dancing, to bridge that gap, to make it less scary. We can learn about each other's interests and find where they intersect, where they're similar, to bring us together. And that is the beauty of I Don't Dance. I know everyone thinks that I'm Sharpay's poodle, but I really think that I could, hey, if they were thinking that, they're not thinking that today. How did you do that swing step you did last night? It's beautiful. We're making these beautiful friendships, right? Ryan is being embraced. We're bridging that kind of awkward, gap that it's like, oh, Ryan Evans is here, right? That's a little awkward for us being the circumstances. But it's like, oh no, he's cool. So we get to this next scene where Troy is realizing all that he's missing out on. Yes, he's getting these opportunities, but he's missing out on everything. Hey, my dad says you're doing great with those college guys. Oh yeah, they're awesome. Playing with them is like being in another world. Well, you missed out on a fun night. It was a great game. But the dessert afterwards had to be the best part. Her mom makes the best brownies. This is Ryan talking about Gabriella. In the entire world. Yeah, I know, I've had them. He's missing out on the fun that he had set to have this summer. Next, we get to the kitchen. And we sadly have a fight between the besties, but we knew this was coming. Did you even ask to include us, Captain? I didn't go looking for the Red Hawks. The Red Hawks came to me, okay? Well, Who set that up? Who set that up, Troy? Who set that up? I didn't sign up for this golf job. Fulton offered it. I said yes. He didn't really offer it as much as he said, yep, you're getting a promotion. And I actually think we should note that part. Because at any point, yes, Troy was being offered more money. But if he had clocked the full realm of what was going on, he could have said, listen, like, I am going to stay where I am. Thanks for the offer, but I want to keep working with my friends. He could have turned down the promotion. And I know what people are going to say. Well, Troy shouldn't be able to make more money. I'm just saying, that's not the point. That's not the point. The point is, why was he getting that promotion? He was unqualified. Troy said it himself. But he took it anyway. Right? He was getting that promotion because Sharpay wants him. That's it. That's it. He didn't magically become this perfect worker that they were like, wait, we really see Troy. Troy's working hard. We got to give him this promotion. No. He was getting that just because Sharpay wanted him to have it. That's it. That's literally it. My decision. But I show up to work same as you. So chill, man. You get a speck of dirt on your pants and someone dry cleans you. And you wouldn't do the same thing? If I was as good as you? I did not say that. You didn't have to. And neither did you. You know what? Here's the part I said we're going to come back to. Why is Troy captain? We didn't vote you captain because of your jump shot, okay? We did it because you're the guy who usually knows what's up. And he doesn't fucking know what's up now. He knew that Sharpay was using him. He knows that Sharpay likes him. And yes, he knows, like, Sharpay must be the one giving him these opportunities. But not enough to the point where he's, like, gonna turn it down. Because he's really winning with these opportunities. But he's not getting them authentically. He's getting them because he's Troy Bolton. So when we say, why did Troy get voted captain? Because he usually knows what's up. Troy, obviously he was still breaking free of the status quo, and that took work to get there, but he was voted captain before, the High School Musical of it all. At the end of the day, whilst Troy still had a lot to deconstruct, he usually has some kind of conscience that knows how to handle these things, where we saw him in the beginning of the movie notice how he got uncomfortable when things started to change, when power plays started to happen. And eventually he loses that. He's not the guy who's clocking that anymore. Whether he's clocking it or not, he's not taking action against it, right? He's not standing up. He's not doing things the correct way. But I guess things change. You think you got me all figured out. Well, I don't think so. And I don't answer to you. Troy is getting defensive because he don't like that he's got called out. Then maybe you should start answering to yourself. Yep, that's the point. We get a call back to this and bet on it because not just everybody's saying, you've changed, right? You have to look in the mirror at yourself, look at your own reflection and say, well, ask yourself. Look, we have been brothers since preschool. If I don't know who you are these days, then who does? So this is so interesting. So first I want to mention, Chad is calling in this more authentic, real type of loyalty. Where in the first movie, when Chad says, no, stick to the status quo, and they do all that shit to try to push them back into the status quo. That was an inauthentic type of loyalty. That was a loyalty in the first movies that tends to be co-opted by oppressive systems to keep people in place. Like, no, you have to stick to the status quo. The loyalty to the status quo, the loyalty to the patriarchy. We have values that we can see and appreciate with each other, and now you're acting out of turn. This call to loyalty, calling out your friends, is not just because Chad thinks that Troy should only be loyal to him as a friend that they've known since preschool. It's that this is not the Troy I know and love. It's not like in the first movie when Troy was changing. It was for the better. Troy was breaking free of the status quo, and Chad was trying to keep the loyalty to the status quo. In this movie, Chad knows, we've already had this pre-established in the whole first half of the movie, what kind of guy Troy is. What's the line between wrong and right? And Troy has gone to the other side entirely. If there's one thing that was consistent with Troy, is that he uplifts others. We have an equal playing field, or if he wins, they also win in some way. Troy, he's up with his ego, and he's being called out, and he doesn't like that. There's nothing wrong with keeping your eye on the prize. In fact, if you don't, you get left behind. But remember, Troy didn't magically earn any of this. None of this would have been possible without Sharpay, because Sharpay wants him. And I also want to talk about this idea of what we can call into this accountability to people, because you should be able to call into accountability to people in your circle. That's the whole point. And we see Chad call this accountability into Troy. Like, you're not acting like yourself. This is not the Troy that I know and love. And it's not that Troy is growing. He's not growing. In the process of taking advantage of all these privileges, Sharpay is giving him, right? He's not earning them. Sharpay is giving him these privileges. He's losing himself. Is that worth it? So Troy is calling into this accountability, right? Like, hey, this isn't right. And later on, we see that Chad is not talking anymore. Gabriella also says, gotta go my own way. And then Troy begins his reflection. Because all we can do is talk about it. And here they couldn't really have a great conversation because Troy immediately gets defensive. You think you know who I am? You got me all figured out? So they can't even have a conversation because realistically, in this realm, where what does taking accountability look like, which we do see from Troy later on, now that we have called out what the problem is, Troy has to figure out what he has to do to hold himself accountable, and Chad has kind of already done his part. I think it's very clear what the issue is, how that would be rectified, and the rest is up to Troy. And if Troy never makes the right decision, then Chad doesn't have to keep being his friend. But right now, he can't talk to Troy because he's made such a big mistake, and not only that, Troy wasn't really hearing Chad on what was going on. He just felt attacked. And I'm not here to say that maybe Chad should have approached him in a different way. I think Chad is mad, and it makes sense to me that he would be upset about this, you know? But I think the issue was stated here for Troy, what the problem was. This is what the problem was. This isn't right. This is not you. We didn't vote you captain because of this or that. We voted you because you're the guy who usually knows what's up. You're the guy that we can count on to do the right thing, and now you're not. And once again, no, Troy was not in the right for doing all this shit. I want to remind those people out there who watch High School Musical too and still think that. I really don't. We're not getting it. We're not getting it. Nevertheless, we flash to Sharpay seeing the Wildcats rehearse. She sees that, hey, the Wildcats do have a number, and it's good. And oh, who's directing it? Her brother Ryan. I said keep an eye on them, not turn them into the cast of Grease. Pretty cool, huh? Do you want us to lose the Star Dazzle Award to a bunch of dishwashers? Well, I guess that's showbiz. When did you become one of them? You know, I'll take that as a compliment. But you and Troy, have a good show, sis. Can you hear that? That snaps for Ryan. Snaps for Ryan. Yes, Ryan. So we get this, once again, indication of that Sharpay feels like the Wildcats are below her. Do you want to lose the Star Dazzle Award to a bunch of dishwashers? Did you hear that? Do you want to lose the Star Dazzle Award to a bunch of dishwashers? When did you become one of them? This is why Sharpay is an incredible metaphor for white supremacy. Because guys, look at this. Look at this. We're not one of you. Sharpay doesn't want Ryan to be in the number, but she still doesn't want him to help the Wildcats, obviously, selfishly. But also because they're not like them. Why would they stoop to their territory? Oh no, oh my god, you're not one of them. You're not one of the dishwashers. Like, Sharpay is nasty in High School Musical 2, for real. Like, nasty. Like, they're below us on the totem pole. Sharpay wants to keep the elite at the top and the dishwashers, aka the Wildcats, at the bottom. So once again, I think I've seen this film before. Sharpay goes to Fulton and says, "The Midsummer's Night Talent Show means something to me and to my family. Those Wildcats will turn it into a farce. Your brother is one of those Wildcats, I'm told. Oh, don't you mention that traitor to us." You heard that? She called him a traitor. A traitor for associating with the Wildcats. That's fucking insane. Note that, everyone. Let's fucking talk about it. Employee involvement in the show is a tradition here. Traditions change. My parents have important guests coming. We'll need every employee working the party, not on stage. Pardon-moi, but we're not just talking about employees. We're talking about your classmates. You might want to think this one out. And this is what I'm saying. We're living the same plot over again. If she can't have it her way, she is going to do something about it in the worst way fucking possible. She doesn't even want them to have equal opportunity. And once again, I say, Sharpay, if you're so confident in your talents, why not let them audition? Oh, that's right. This is the white supremacy of it all. White people can't stand other people being at the equal level playing field with them. And instead of winning next to other people, they would much rather win, but the other people have to suffer. The other people shouldn't get what they have. White supremacy at its finest. It's an incredible metaphor that we see to relate to this. And this is why I say I really have respect for High School Musical, because they were teaching these lessons in a way that made sense for kids. And this is so funny when, a lot of shows or books or movies get called woke, and it's like, it's just a story about how this is not okay and that everyone is equal or everyone should get a chance. Hello? Like, are you guys okay? Like, you want other people to suffer so fucking bad for what fucking reason? You fucking freaks and losers! We flash to the announcement that employees can no longer participate. This is business. Welcome to the world of adults who wish to keep their jobs because they have mortgages they wish to pay, tuition bills, car payments, etc., etc., etc. So sometimes we have to perform tasks, however unpleasant, that are necessary for the all too important paycheck to land in our all too empty pockets. Those were some bars. I mean, are you kidding? Like, you have to do things that you don't agree with to get money in our all too empty pockets. I actually wonder what this man's being paid. Because remember, he's the manager of Lava Springs. And Sharpay's parents got money. And they're probably barely paying this man. That's our capitalism tie-in right fucking there. So after we find out that the staff can no longer participate, we get one of the iconic Gabriella confrontations to Sharpay. Forget about the rest of us. How about the fact that your brother has worked extremely hard on the show? Oh, boo-hoo, he'll be in the show. He'll do his celebrity impressions. And don't lecture me about Ryan, given the way you've been interfering with Troy's future. What? You've gotten him written up by Fulton for sneaking on the golf course, swimming after hours? I had to step in just to save Troy's job. What did I fucking tell y'all earlier that was going to be thrown back in her face once again? We all know that it was Troy's idea, right? So I go, why are we throwing this back on Gabriella? Oh, that's right. Because it serves Sharpay's narrative. Like, oh, wow, I had to step in to save Troy's job. First of all, you're the reason he has the job in the first place. And if Troy got fired, let him get fired. Why won't you? Oh, that's right, because you want him. And I don't think, if Sharpay, mind you, Sharpay is the one bossing the manager around, okay? Do you really think, at the end of the day, Troy was ever really at risk of being fired? Sharpay literally said, if you can't fire them, make them want to quit. She did not mean Troy. She wanted Troy on fucking board from the fucking start. Troy's job was never at fucking risk. You just want to act big and important. I'm not interested in what you think you're doing for Troy. That's between you and him. Okay, secure queen. But Sharpay thinks she's got the up and up, but Gabriella doesn't care because Gabriella's secure. That's between you and him. But you're messing with my friends, my summer, and that's not okay with me. Exactly, Gabriella. You don't like the fact that I won. What's the prize? Troy? The Star Dazzle Award? You have to go through all of this just to get either one? Exactly! Y'all be doing the fucking most instead of just letting people have fun. The Wildcats actually don't do fucking anything to Sharpay. What do they do to Sharpay? Nothing. Let them live. People go through all this fucking shit to exclude other people when it's actually so fucking easy to just include people, believe it or not. No thanks, Sharpay. You're very good at a game that I don't want to play, so I'm done here. That was incredible. We're going to talk about that in a second. But you better step away from the mirror long enough to check the damage that will always be right behind you. Clocked her fucking T! Gabriella! You are a queen! Yes, Gabriella. I can't snap that fast. Snaps for Gabriella, everybody. Applause for Gabriella, everybody. Let me read that to you one more fucking time. You're very good at a game that I don't want to play, so I'm done here. But you better step away from the mirror long enough to check the damage that will always be right behind you. And I want everyone to note that you're very good at a game that I don't want to play. because that's going to circle back for us when we get to bet on it. So I'll leave that to talk about then. But I want to look at, you better step away from the mirror long enough to check the damage that will always be right behind you. And let's call back to what the dad said. If you don't, you get left behind. And do you need to leave people behind to achieve what you want? And if you do, is that ethical? Because Sharpay is leaving a trail of shit behind her. And I meant to say shit in the like general sense, but after I said she's leaving a trail of shit, I pictured it. Not the shit, not that shit, not that shit. Shit, but not that shit. I'm so sorry for anyone who didn't want that picture, but it's like, oh god, put a diaper on Sharpay. She's shitting all over the place. Because people who want to try to get ahead, who think that to keep your eye on the prize, you have to leave people behind. They leave damage behind, like Sharpay has. Sharpay does all of these things to try to get ahead, to say you can't even participate, to feel like she's important. She has to isolate other people. She has to hurt other people. And that's not right. To think that you have to leave people behind and the things that you do to get ahead end up hurting other people in the trail that you've left behind you, that's not ethical. That's not ethical. It doesn't have to be like that. Patriarchy, white supremacy, capitalism tell you that you can't achieve this without causing harm. And they try to repackage that harm as necessary. It's a necessary evil for you to get this. And that's not fucking true. That's not fucking true. You do not need to leave people behind, leave damage behind to achieve what you want. And if you do, that's incredibly unethical. Who would have thunk that we could learn these lessons from High School Musical? And now we move on to the Troy and Gabriella confrontation. What do you mean you're done here? I mean, you can't quit. Us working together sounded good, but plans change and people change. The club talent show is a big deal for Sharpay, and evidently for your future, so it's cool. Just make it happen. Wear your new Italian shoes. Hey, I'm still me. Blowing off your friends? Missing dates? If that's you, it's good to know. I was only doing that because I'm working on the scholarship thing. You know that. But if along the way you act like someone you're not, pretty soon that's who you become. I meant what I said about the movies and summer and just being together. I'm sure you did, at the time. But I also meant what I said, that I want to remember this summer. But not like this, Troy. And I'm not going to start singing Gotta Go My Own Way. But when you listen to Gotta Go My Own Way in the context of what's happening, you're like, genius, 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 never done before, probably has been done before, let's be honest. Iconic genius. Like High School Musical in the context of with what is happening is truly so incredible and genius on a level that like I don't even know that the writers were aware of what they were doing. So Gabriella spitting some facts here that we need to talk about in the grand scheme of everything that we will really more so talk about during Bet on It. But if along the way you act like someone you're not, pretty soon that's who you become. Right? Like Troy knew what he wanted to do at the beginning of the summer, obviously got a little derailed because a little. As I've said before, we set the intentions for the summer, and yes, Troy had an opportunity to maybe get a scholarship, but that wasn't the point. Like, he couldn't balance doing things with everyone. So, and as I mentioned before, it gets to be a little silly when we take the movie out of it and start being like, okay, if these are really people that existed, what would we say? And it's like, well, if you don't have time for your friends, you don't have time for your girlfriend, I say that's fine, but like you don't have time to do that, and you would have to communicate that with them, and then if they weren't cool with that, they weren't cool with that. But you're literally consistently blowing off your friends and literally just forgetting the plans that you made. And at some point, if you keep blowing off your friends and your girlfriend with plans that you made that said, oh yeah, let's do this, I'll be there, and then you're not there, like that is an issue. But like I said, it feels silly when we're talking about High School Musical because it's like, well, yeah, if they communicated in a healthy way, there wouldn't be a movie. There wouldn't be a movie, guys. So I, once again, will never be drinking the Gabriela Montez haterade. There's a lot of things that we could say about Gabriela Montez, like the fact that she calls him Wildcat in High School Musical 3, but we're not there yet, so we can't even talk about that. But you're not going to make me dislike Gabriela for saying gotta go my own way. Like, you truly could not convince me. Like, the man doesn't even have time to be a boyfriend. That's fine. But, like, you could be like, listen, I really don't have time for you. So, like, I would understand if, like, we have to take a break now. Or, like, whatever. Whatever that would be. Like I said, feels silly because they're not real people. They're a movie and things have to happen. But it's like, yeah, like, this song is basically like, listen, like, love you, but I gotta go my own way because this is not right now. It ain't. It ain't. Were you listening to the song? Guys, were you listening to the fucking song? I'm leaving today because I gotta do what's best for me. You'll be okay. I've got to move on and be who I am. I just don't belong here. I hope you understand. We might find our place in this world someday, but at least for now, I gotta go my own fucking way. Okay? What about us? What about everything we've been through? But Troy, what about trust? You know I never wanted to hurt you, but what about me? What am I supposed to do? I gotta leave, but I'll miss you. Were you even fucking listening to the song? Were you listening to the song? Like, actually, Gabriela Montez, we need to give you an applause because it's like, hey, this is no longer right for me, so I gotta go. I gotta leave, but I'll miss you. Okay? And it's sad to say goodbye. But I gotta go my own way because it just wouldn't be right to stay here and to be unhappy. Are you listening to the song, by the way? Hey, are you listening? Were you even fucking listening? Do you have your listening ears on, class? That was brilliant. It's so simple, but so brilliant, okay? And if you get it, you get it. We know that Gabriela said, gotta go my own way. Chad said, gotta go my own way. And now Troy is really contemplating because all the people he cared about, right, are saying, gotta go my own way. They're not talking to him now. And yes, Troy's been prioritizing his scholarship, but also he didn't even have time to make any connections with his friends when that's what they set out to do this summer, right? He doesn't, at the very least. You know, I don't know if I'm going to get everybody on the same page with me, but at the very least, we have to say his time management skills, balancing life and school, or these opportunities are just he's not doing it well. You can't say he's doing it well. You can't. Flash forward to the scene with his dad, and he says, you've barely been out of this room for the last 3 or 4 days. Let's call the guys, get a game going. They wouldn't come even if I called. I find that hard to believe. Dad, do I seem different to you this summer? You dress a lot better, that's for sure. Aw man, I'm serious. Maybe I'm turning into a jerk with new shoes. New shoes, not a new kid. Where's this coming from? I've been so focused on my future. Can we fucking flashback? Can we fucking flashback to that original scene with the dad? The Wildcats are for now, but they won't be forever, right? Like at some point, and I just go, this is so interesting. Like I said, I don't even know if the writers of High School Musical knew that they were fucking doing this, and whether they did or didn't is neither here nor there because, like, it's just fucking brilliant, the callbacks that we have in these little ways, right? Like, I've been so focused on moving ahead for my time afterwards that I've, like, neglected to even be in the moment, which was the whole fucking point of High School Musical 2. That was the intention that was set during the summer. Like, we're not, like, at someday this is all gonna end, right? Like, we have to appreciate our time in the now. Gabriela quit. Chad won't talk to me. I don't see the Wildcats running around here. Is this about going after what you want? Yeah, Dad. The scholarship's important. I get it. Look, it's only a big deal if it makes sense to you. I don't even know who I am anymore. You know what? I've known this kid for a long time, and I got a lot of faith in him. He looks a lot like you. I'm absolutely sure he's going to figure out the right thing to do. You know what's so fucking funny? I think this is actually the second time that, like, the dad will say something so real, but it'll also be against any advice he even gives. Like, I don't even, like, how does that even make any sense? In High School Musical 1, I don't know if you guys recall that scene with Troy and Dad in his backyard playing basketball, and Troy's like, what if you want to do something and then your friends make fun of you? And he's like, they're not your friends at all. And you're like, you said that? That was so true, but like, you also did the same exact thing that you said was wrong. And in High School Musical 2, he's like, no, just like, listen, the Wildcats aren't going to be the Wildcats forever. Like, you're going to have to move on and think about your future. So, like, keep your eye on the prize. If you don't, you get left behind. And then, like, you literally, like, abandon your friends. And it's just like, now the dad's like, oh, well, only if it makes sense to you. It's like, you don't even know what you're saying. Like, dad, like, will simultaneously give the best and worst advice that he's, like, constantly contradicting himself. It really, like, cracks me up at this point, because what are you even saying? You're literally giving mismatched advice every single goddamn time. Coach Bolton, we cannot rely on you for this. So what we see here is actually really interesting, that I feel like was lacking from the first movie, right? When you are having a reflection to look within and be like, okay, what I did wasn't right. I didn't like how I went about it. I could have done this better. And now I've hurt people along the way, right? I like that we actually got to see this reflection from Troy in this scene, but also in the song Bet On It, in a way that we didn't see in the first movie. We didn't see Chad and Taylor come to a realization like what they were doing was wrong. It's just they immediately went and like, okay, we were wrong. And I think it's important to have that moment of reflection, because I think not a lot of people might not recognize what that particularly looks like. So I thought that was interesting that we got this in this movie and not the other, but I'm glad it's there nonetheless. So we flash forward to Bet On It. Everybody's always talking at me. Everybody's trying to get in my head. I want to listen to my own heart talking. I need to count on myself instead. This is very important because we're hearing a lot of things from multiple people, right? Sharpay's saying one thing, Chad and Gabriella are saying another thing. And whilst we weigh what other people in our lives say, at the end of the day, we are the only ones who can make that decision. And what I want us to go into Bet On It thinking is, this is a song about self-accountability. We can only hold people accountable to a certain degree. And we are the only ones who can hold ourselves accountable. So what does it look like to evaluate what are my values? Am I living in those values? And if I'm not, what can I do to make it right? How do I move towards that? And that is what Bet On It is about. Did you ever lose yourself to get what you want? Did you ever get on a ride and then want to get off? Did you ever tolerate Sharpay and then be like, wait, maybe this is not worth it after all? Did you ever push away the ones you should have held close? Did you ever let go? Did you ever not know? Exactly. Were you listening? Are you fucking listening? I'm not gonna stop. That's who I am. I'll give it all I got. That is my plan. Will I find what I lost? You know you can bet on it. Exactly. I want to make it right. That is the way. To turn my life around, today is the fucking day. Am I the type of guy who means what I say? You can bet on it. Are you fucking listening? I too, guys, listen to music and I'm not really thinking about it that much. I'm just like, I like the beat. I'm rocking with it. I may know all the lyrics. But listening and listening are two different things, okay? Like I said, High School Musical is brilliant when you're actually paying attention to the lyrics in the context of what is happening. How will I know if there's a path worth taking? Should I question every move I make? With all I've lost, my heart is breaking. I don't want to make the same mistakes. Did you ever doubt your dream will ever come true? Did you ever blame the world but never blame you? Sometimes we gotta go, it's me. Hi, I'm the problem, it's me. Sometimes it be like that, okay? And you need to understand that. I will never try to live a lie again. I don't want to win this game if I can't play it my way. I don't want to win this game if I can't play it my way. Are you fucking listening? Are you listening? Because I don't want to win this game if I can't play it my way, and I'm through with playing by the rules of someone else's game, are actually so linked. Yes, High School Musical and Wicked. In such a way that y'all need to fucking lock in and understand. And understand. Because what way can you win the game? Under Troy's privilege, he is taking these advantages, and he doesn't really want to, as we've heard in the song, as we've seen on his face, quite frankly, right? He's tolerating Sharpay at best to take advantage of these privileges. By taking these privileges that he's been given for no reason other than Sharpay wants him, he is in turn losing himself and abandoning his own values and who he is. And is the result of Troy getting a scholarship at U of A really worth all of that? If he has become a bad friend and abandoned the people that he actually cares about? And not only that, we've said Troy Bolton likes to keep an equal playing field. He may be the captain, but he's not above anyone else. And this isn't about getting everyone scholarships. This is not Oprah. Scholarship for you, scholarship for you, scholarship for you. This is leveling the playing field. So why would he try to play to Sharpay's game to win a scholarship if it means losing everybody else, leaving everyone behind, when you can achieve a goal and bring people along with you? Whether that be side by side, whether that be using your privilege to help uplift them in other ways. Like, we don't need to leave people behind to get ahead. I'm through with playing by the rules of someone else's game, and I don't want to win this game if I can't play it my way. Because what's it worth? What's it worth? What am I sacrificing? It's no good at all to see yourself and not recognize your face. You all better be standing over your reflection in a pond right now. And if you're not, pause this, go out to your local pond, lake, reflective surface at the very least, and look at yourself. Out on my own, it's such a scary place. The answers are all inside of me. All I gotta do is believe. That's so incredibly important. That's really not what people are understanding. It's not clicking with them in this way. There's so much to consider in this world, but I, at the very least, have to be able to rely on myself to get myself out of this situation. And what do I have to do? And Troy has now reflected and he has evaluated what he has to do. And then we get the scene with Sharpay. And I have spoken about earlier, specifically with Ryan, that proximity to power does not guarantee you a seat at the top, right? It doesn't guarantee you protection. And I thought this was interesting to bring up specifically with Troy when he confronts Sharpay. Because Sharpay isn't understanding when Troy says that he's not going to do the show. She's just rude. What do you mean you're not doing the show? Exactly that. We're singing a duet, Troy. A duet means two people. Well, mostly me in this case, but whatever. Duet. I'm an employee. Employees aren't allowed in the show. No, you're an honorary member. Not anymore. I asked Fulton for my kitchen job back. What? Sharpay, I don't like the way you've been treating my friends, and I don't like the way I've been treating them either. So I'm doing something about it. Yeah, bitch, did you fucking hear that? Did you fucking hear that? That's what you should be doing. An entire table of university boosters are coming to see you, thanks to me. So I'll be their waiter. They'll be thrilled. Troy, this could change your life. I'm more interested in about what my friends think of me and what I think of myself. This is what I'm fucking saying. This is what I'm fucking saying. Like, yes, this is exactly what we should have done from the fucking start. And this is where Sharpay gets nasty. Oh, we could all hold hands around the campfire some other time. Right now, we've got a show to do. See what I mean? So nasty. So nasty, girl. Relax. No, you've got a show to do. I've got a kitchen to clean. Exactly. Exactly. Are you listening? Are you listening? That's what I'm fucking talking about. That was like the whole fucking point of the movie right there. You see how easy it is? We see Troy circle back to be the guy that we know him to be. We see Troy standing up to Sharpay again. Now, granted, the first few times she was not taking him seriously, but now it's serious. It just got serious. And we flash to the talent show. Ryan pops in the room. Let's see what happens. There you are. Thank goodness you've come to your senses. Plug in the volcano. Huma Huma is back on. Enjoy your pineapple on your own, sis. I'm not doing the show. What? Oh, put some fresh batteries in your Tiki Warrior costume and let's get going. Took your advice. Sold it online. You've always wanted the spotlight. Now you've got it. Break a leg. Come on, Ryan. That's what I'm fucking talking about. That's what I'm talking about. We are standing our ground to Sharpay. Because, guess what? Now that Troy doesn't want to play with her. Oh, come on, Ryan. I know I kicked you out. I know I isolated you. But you know what? Come back in. Come back in. Now that it serves me, I want you back. But Ryan stands his ground, and that's what it's fucking about. This is what it's all about, people. Next, we flash to the apology to Chad. Kelsey told us what went down between you and Sharpay. I'm more interested in what went down between me and you, man. I was a jerk. Yeah. But hey, brothers fight, and they're still brothers. All right. It's like, you guys, I feel like this is just such a guy apology. Like, I mean, he apologized. It's just like, I feel like he didn't really say much. Just like, brothers, I'm sorry, man. I was a jerk. Brothers, let's hug it out, man. You know what I mean? And that's really what this was. That's really what this was. Guys, I'm sorry I messed up your shows. Yeah, because show business is our entire lives, right? Hey, I hope you haven't permanently filled my spot in the 2-on-2 game. And Ryan, I know how hard you must have worked on this show. Making these Wildcats look good couldn't have been easy. So I apologize. Hey, the truth is, we've had a lot of fun. At least I have. Hey, you gotta see this dude play baseball. Oh, it's like so cute. I love like Ryan truly being just welcomed into the Wildcats. It's a beautiful thing. Troy, listen, all these people out there, I don't really want to see my sister crash and burn. At least I think I don't. I think you should sing with her. I don't like this part, but it is what it is. The thing about Sharpay is like, she doesn't get what she wants, she throws a fit, and then somehow she's still like catered to in the end. And not in like a huge way, but it's just like I said, like she doesn't really learn her lesson. Or even when she does have a bit of character development, she's like still pushed back in. And here's the thing. I think that's the fucking point. I think it's frustrating because it's like, how many times can I be like, Sharpay, you're being a terrible person right now. And then it's like, okay, I guess she came around a little bit. But it's never enough. And that's the fucking point. Because Sharpay is an incredible metaphor for white supremacy in the way that it's like, it suits her when it suits her, and then when it doesn't, she still wants to be welcomed in. But at the end of the day, she's never going to sacrifice what she wants, the power that she wants to hold, to be able to, like, really kiki with the Wildcats. So Sharpay is in her trailer, saying, my life is over. I've been a good girl. I've never lied, except when necessary. I've always bought my parents expensive gifts, using their credit card, of course. But I don't deserve this humiliation. Girl, and this is why I can't feel sorry for Sharpay. I really don't. I really don't, because I don't think she's learning her lesson here. And as I've said, that's the point. But still, mirror, mirror on the wall, who's the... Oh, forget it. What? Like, I don't even know what's going on. I really... Like, what are... Like, why does she sound like a... I mean, she sounds like a Disney villain. But it's so ridiculous. So Troy pops in to see Sharpay. My show makes the captain of the Titanic look like he won the lottery, she says. And I think that's actually a crazy fucking line, but I love it. But I fucking love it. I'll sing with you, Sharpay. What? I promised, and I keep my promises. But what was the first thing you said to me when I started working here? Bring me more iced tea? Think harder, we're all in this together. Okay, we need a cheesy callback at all times. At all times. Come on, Wildcats, we're all in this together. So let's get out there and knock 'em dead, Troy Bolton. I do the show if the Wildcats do the show. And I think fast. And I love this because we are calling to an action. It's great that we stood up to Sharpay, but we're also saying, hey, you gotta do this, girl. I just sort of wish you were doing this for me. You're a good guy, Troy. And actually, right now, I think I like you better than I like myself. Did I just say that? This is what I'm saying. Like, I can't... Sharpay is iconic. I think we all understand this. You truly couldn't make me feel sorry for Sharpay because she's doing this to herself. So Ryan pulls Troy and is like, actually, Sharpay wants you to learn a new song. Now, Ryan is slick with this because the song that Troy is going to sing is not one with Sharpay. It's one to bring the Wildcats, Troy and Gabriella back together. And that song is Every Day. Here's the thing. I think High School Musical 2, music on music on music, okay? Banger after banger. Every Day is a little boring. Be honest, Be honest, everybody, every day is a little boring. I'm here for it, but it is a little boring. But once again, when you pay attention to the songs and the context of what's happening and you actually listen to the lyrics, it makes sense. They say that you should follow and chase down what you dream, but if you get lost and lose yourself, what does it really mean? No matter where we're going, it starts from where we are. There's more to life when we listen to our hearts. This is like literally just like a wrap up of like what happened and what High School Musical is all about, quite frankly. And because of you, I've got the strength to start. Yep. And Troy actually says that to Gabriella pretty much, like in every movie. Like, he credits Gabriella for being able to, like, finally sing at the end of the day. Because of Gabriella, it started his process of breaking the status quo. And obviously, like, the other half of that is Troy, but if Gabriella had never come to East High, would this have even happened? I don't know. So they are finally announcing who won the Star Dazzle Award, and it seems like Fulton is about to just lie and give it to Sharpay, even though she didn't perform, but that was the vibes of it, and Sharpay grabs the mic and awards it to Ryan. So it's like, you see what I mean? She does kind of get it at the end, but not enough for me personally. Sharpay consistently learning her lessons, but also completely control-alt leading them after the movie's over. So this is the end of High School Musical 2, but let's do a quick review on the lessons we learned here today. So first, let's talk about Ryan. Ryan learned proximity to power did not guarantee him any sort of protection or seat at the top. At some point, Ryan was chopped liver, and then of course, when Troy said no, Sharpay wanted him back because Sharpay actually didn't give a fuck in the first place. And the important thing is that Ryan learned that, you know, breaking free of the status quo of this proximity to power ultimately served him in the end because he gained a community, right, who actually valued who he is and the work he does and never was trying to be above him. They welcomed him in with open arms, and that was so beautiful. And we got to bridge the gaps, especially with the iconic baseball scene, I Don't Dance, which, I mean, once again, the tension between Chad and Ryan, I mean, it's undeniable. It's undeniable, and we have to call back to it one last time because truly, I mean, that's a great scene. That's a great scene. But we got to bridge the gap of our different groups and see how we can come together and how we can actually, although we may be different, we can compare how our interests actually intersect. And also because Ryan broke the status quo and we learned we're all in this together, like the Wildcats learned in the first movie, we were able to come against someone who was trying to sabotage them, right? Sharpay. Next, we have Sharpay. She lives the same story over again, right? She doesn't get her way. She's going to sabotage it. And everyone is going to have to work together to kind of win against her, essentially. And Sharpay, this was like the worst of Sharpay. Truly, truly, truly. Because it was just so nasty to a degree that, like, I was shocked. I was shocked. And not that you should be shocked, but it's just like I haven't watched High School Musical 2 in truly so long. So like when she was saying all that stuff, I was like, oh my damn, girl. Like, damn. But like I said, this is why High School Musical 2 is the most brilliant one, especially with using Sharpay as a metaphor for white supremacy, because she's the nastiest she is in this movie, particularly, right? She wants Troy. She wants to be the star of the show, and she will do whatever it takes, whatever damage she has to leave behind. She does not care. She's going to do whatever she wants. She's going to be isolated because of her nastiness. You know, in the end, she gets embraced by the Wildcats, but essentially, at the end of the day, Sharpay is by herself, right? And why would you want to be by yourself when you have when you could have a community like the Wildcats? You know, and Ryan learned that lesson in this movie. And I think that was so beautiful for them to work together and actually be like, hey, like, we don't have to be fighting against each other. Like, we're all in this together. And that was so beautiful of Ryan, you know, what Ryan was learning. But Sharpay, she really didn't want to learn any of these lessons, and she was alone because of it. But she was being nasty to everyone, even her own twin. Like I said, y'all share a womb, and you're being that mean to your own brother? Sharpay truly never wanted anyone to be on the equal playing ground with her, because they're below her. They're nothing but dishwashers at the end of the day to her. And she will do anything to sabotage, and like Gabriella said, leave a trail of damage behind her, and she doesn't care. And last but not least, Troy Bolton. He learns a couple lessons in this one. The first one, proximity to power does not guarantee you safety. from someone like Sharpay. Sharpay wanted Troy, so that's why she was handing out all these privileges to him. Whilst he was taking those privileges for a ride for as long as he could, he at the end stood up to Sharpay and said, hey, I don't like the way you're treating my friends. I don't like the way I'm treating my friends, and I'm going to do something about it. This ain't right. And she, of course, acted like a spoiled brat because she didn't really care about doing the right thing. She just wanted what she wanted. And she's the privileged one in all of this. And the most important lesson Troy Bolton learns in all of this is ultimately you do not have to sacrifice your values to gain something that you want. And what does that look like? For Troy, he ultimately started letting everything slip by the wayside just to take advantage of these privileges that were given to him by Sharpay. And ultimately, he wasn't doing it the right way. He wasn't doing it in an inclusive way. And in turn, he let his friends down, let his girlfriend down, and most of all, let himself down, because we should be able to look within ourselves, look within our values and say, am I acting accordingly? And if not, we can stop and change that any day. But we heard his father, there's nothing wrong with keeping your eye on the prize. In fact, if you don't, you get left behind, but people shouldn't get left behind because we can excel together. And in between reading this podcast, I have been reading Angela Davis, Women, Culture, and Politics. And in this book, we are discussing, partly at least where I'm at, how white women ultimately tend to be excluding Black women from feminism. And in the chapter I was reading, she was discussing how white women tend to leave the core root problems of racism out of these movements that they actually, in order to succeed, we need to include. And the fundamental things that white women ultimately don't realize. And that was, we must learn to lift as we climb. And I thought that was such an interesting quote to read at a time like this, when I am talking about this in High School Musical 2. Would you believe that? We're talking about one of the lessons Troy's learned in High School Musical 2, that we don't need to leave people behind as we excel. We must learn to lift as we climb. That I would read an Angela Davis book and we would be talking about the same thing, because that's the whole fucking point. That's the whole fucking point. We are helping other people as we excel ourselves, and that's the fucking point. And the problem with Troy in this movie, right, is that he wasn't doing that. And also, sometimes, taking the privileges of someone like Sharpay isn't the right thing to do. But even if we have that opportunity, are we actually wielding it in a way that's going to help everybody else? Because we don't need to leave people behind to get ahead. And not like Sharpay, who, when someone is challenging her spot, she says, I'm going to sabotage people completely. Not only are they not going to have a chance to be up against me, but we're going to make sure they don't even have a chance to be on the same field as me. And that was so interesting. I just thought that was something I wanted to mention, because I was just like, oh my God, this is what we're fucking talking about, guys. This is what we're fucking talking about. So we learned some valuable lessons here with Troy. Proximity to power does not guarantee you safety. We learn what it looks like to reflect on your own values. What is the right thing to do? How can I make things right? We can make that change at any time. And ultimately, we do not need to leave people behind to get ahead. There is a way for all of us to excel, because at the end of the day, we're all in this together. Are you getting tired of hearing it? Because as cheesy as it is so fucking true. And I so deeply want to know, is this what the High School Musical writers were doing? I want to know. Because it's just like, this movie hit it so on the point. I just need to sit down with the people and say, did you intend to write it this way, or did it just happen this way? Because the lessons we learned in this movie particularly were so incredible. And I personally think High School Musical 2 was the best. I know people have their own rankings. But guys, the lessons we learned in this movie that we can relate to real life. Patriarchy, white supremacy, capitalism. I mean, hello? Hello? And we were learning this as children. There are always ways to introduce these ideas at a digestible level at any age. And to think, I was 12 when this aired. We can always make these concepts digestible for literally anyone.